Hi everybody, and welcome to the Millennial Revolt, an independent political talk show that seeks to bring a different narrative than the stale one we have going on in the mainstream media. Now, today should be a day that lives in infamy for everyone. If you don't know, today is the day that the FBI Director James Comey decided not to indict Hillary Clinton. Now, what's going on here is obscene. It is the highest form of corruption that I have ever seen that is so blatant. They're not even trying to hide this anymore. It's just out there for the American people to see. They just proved that there are two sets of laws. The rule of law does not matter. There's one for the rich and powerful, and there's one for us, the peasants, the peons. Now we're going to watch a little bit of James Comey's press conference, and then we're going to discuss.
What I want to do today is three things. I want to tell you what we did, I want to tell you what we found, and I want to tell you what we're recommending to the Department of Justice. This is going to be an unusual statement in at least a couple of ways. First, I'm going to include more detail about our process than I ordinarily would, because I think the American people deserve those details in a case of intense public interest. And second, I have not coordinated this statement or reviewed it in any way with the Department of Justice or any other part of the government.
Now, I don't know about you guys, but for me, his opening remarks sound rehearsed. It sounds like he memorized this. And to me, it all just screams corruption. It all is extremely suspicious. Now, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I have evidence to back this up, and I'm going to give you context. Now, on July 1st, Bill Clinton privately met with U.S. General Attorney Loretta Lynch, for 30 minutes. They said the half-hour meeting at the Phoenix airport created an appearance of impropriety, because Mr. Clinton could have been seen as garnering goodwill from Mrs. Lynch even if the two didn't discuss the specifics of the email case. They said that the former president initiated the meeting after hearing the Attorney General's plane was on the same tarmac. Now, before the FBI even announced if they were going to indict Secretary Clinton, she came out with these statements with full confidence, which to me means that they did have a conversation. It's a sort of you scratch my back, I scratch your back. And I'm going to have links to every article that I read from so you guys can read it for yourselves. She said, and I quote, "I will be accepting their recommendations and their plan for going forward." She said, though she gave no indication of what she might do if there are disagreements among those individuals or disagreements between the FBI and the Justice Department. In that sense, her remarks changed little about the likely trajectory of the investigation. So you're saying whatever decision that the FBI comes out with, whatever they say, you're going to go with this. And this was July 1st, okay? Now, July 5th, FBI Director James Comey says that we're not going to indict Hillary Clinton, that even though there was gross negligence, and if this was anyone else, they would have been prosecuted for a felony. No, Hillary Clinton's going to get off scot-free. Now, there's even reports saying that Secretary Clinton and Democrats close to Mrs. Clinton say that she may decide to retain Mrs. Lynch, the nation's first black woman to be Attorney General, when she succeeds President Obama as the Democratic nominee and possibly the next president. So this is a sort of you scratch my back, I'll scratch your back. And again, I will have a list of everything, all the articles that I'm quoting from. This is from townhall.com. And if this is what's going on. It is obscene. Okay? It's disgusting what's happening here. And you're setting a really messed up precedence where you're saying that the rich can get away with whatever the hell that they want to, that the rule of law does not matter, that it's all out the window, and that it only matters to the little people. Now, this is disgusting. Now, let's go on and listen to more of this press conference.
Information was transmitted on that personal system. Our investigation looked at whether there is evidence that classified information was improperly stored or transmitted on that personal system in violation of a federal statute that makes it a felony to mishandle classified information either intentionally or in a grossly negligent way, or a second statute making it a misdemeanor to knowingly remove classified information from appropriate systems or storage facilities. And consistent with our counterintelligence responsibilities, we have also investigated to determine if there is evidence of computer intrusion by nation states or by hostile actors of any kind. Now, I have so far used the singular term email server in describing the referral that began our investigation. It turns out to have been more complicated than that. Secretary Clinton used several different servers and administrators of those servers during her 4 years at the State Department. And she also used numerous mobile devices to send and to read email on that personal domain. As new servers and equipment were employed, older servers were taken out of service, stored, and decommissioned in various ways. Piecing all of that back together to gain as full an understanding as possible of the ways in which personal email was used for government work has been a painstaking undertaking.
Now, I want this to be very clear to anyone who is listening that Hillary Clinton broke the law, and she broke a specific law of the Federal Penal Code Title 18, Section 793F. With lawful access to highly classified information, she acted with gross negligence in removing and causing it to be removed from its proper place of custody, and she transmitted it and caused it to be transmitted to others not authorized to have it, in patent violation of her trust. Now, what I find extremely shocking and just mind-boggling throughout this whole press conference was Director Comey listed everything that she did, went on, and it seemed out of his way to list her crimes, going on to say that Secretary Clinton was extremely reckless and careless and very likely led to communications her own and those she corresponded with being intercepted by foreign intelligence services, i.e. probably Russia, China. Yet, Director Comey recommended against prosecution of the law violations. He clearly found on the ground that there was no intent to harm the United States. I mean, people go to jail for less. He's talking about intent. Well, a drunk driver drives home drunk. He didn't intend to hit and maim someone, but you still go to jail for that. A reckless parent leaves their kid in a car on a hot summer day, and God forbid the child dies. They didn't intend for their child to die, but you still go to jail for that. So I don't understand what he means by intent. And to me, what blows my mind about all this, what really gets to me, is that Hillary Clinton has been one of the most avid advocates for prosecuting whistleblowers. Like, it's crazy to me. And for her to take information, government information, and have them stored on a private server that you set up in your house because apparently you were doing something that you didn't want anyone to know about, and for there to be no indictment at all, it's just shocking. It's just shocking. It's obscene. For me, the rule of law has broken down in this country. When you can have blatant violations like this, blatant just corruption on every level, for her not to be indicted, for you to say that politics is more important than the rule of law, is when we are in a constitutional crisis. Our democracy is in jeopardy. And I really think people need to be more aware. People need to do something about this, because we can't have stuff like this going on. And what I find just so annoying about this case, and just so upsetting, is that people who leak information, such as Daniel Ellsberg, Tom Drake, Chelsea Manning, Edward Snowden, they face decades in prison for releasing secrets that are actually harming the American public, and they're doing it for selfless reasons. David Petraeus, who gave his mistress classified information, some low-leveled nobodies were handling information without intent to send it to anyone. They go to jail for that. Chelsea Manning is in jail. They're still trying to get at Edward Snowden. To me, it's just crazy. All of this is political. Basically, what they just did was they saved Hillary Clinton's presidential aspirations. To me, that's just exactly what they did. Now, James Comey condemned what Hillary Clinton did in the press conference, saying it was recklessness and all of that. But you're basically giving her the green thumb, like, okay, what you did was illegal. Basically, if this was anyone else, they would be going to jail. But because you're a Clinton, because you're running for president, and President Obama still has his legacy to think about, so he wants to pass on the White House to another Democratic president, or a Democrat to succeed him, we're going to let her off the hook. Now, if this should upset anyone who cares about justice in the country, who cares about rule of law, this should upset everyone. Everyone. Like, it's disturbing. It's really disturbing. And Hillary Clinton removed government property, which is classified property, on a private server. Now, under the Freedom of Information Act, we should have a right to see what those things are, on the things that are not classified, mind you. She stored all of this on her personal server, mixing classified and personal emails together, and then proceeded to delete these. And then, mind you, she lied under oath. He basically said this in the press conference. Now, it's just crazy. To me, this just undermined the FBI completely. It has undermined that whole department. You have made investigations seem meaningless when it comes to politics. Politics matters more than the rule of law. Now, if you don't think this is not going to have an effect come November, come the general election, people just don't seem to understand the mood of the country. This is showing the American people that the political elite, the top 1%, is above the law. You have Donald Trump railing about this. You have him openly courting Bernie Sanders supporters. Now, you just showed that they are above the law. that the rule of law, that there are two sets of rules, one for the rich and one for us. Now, if you don't think that this is going to have an effect come November, you're highly mistaken. You're highly mistaken. And given the fact that Washington is so quick to prosecute whistleblowers, anyone who decides to leak information, saying it jeopardizes our national security, a woman who's used an unprotected server, mind you. Oh, but there was no intent for her to jeopardize state secrets. It's wild to me. I don't know. Had this been somebody who was unimportant, powerless, and they did exactly what Hillary Clinton did, which was extremely reckless, foolish, and then they outright lied to the public when they were caught about it. When they were caught, they lied. They would have been criminally charged a long time ago with very little fuss or objections from anyone in the media. Everyone would have been in unison. This person needs to go to jail. Now, it's either arrogance that made her think she could get away with it, which she basically did at this point. It's obscene. It's so upsetting and just so disgusting to me that I can't. Well, that's it for today's episode. I hope you guys liked it. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. This has been Millennial Revolt. Have a good day, everybody.